the backcourt with his hair in the breeze. Keeps coming. Shot off with the left hand over Parker. Unbelievable play.
Steve, take us back to the end of last season when you were named the NBA's most valuable player for 2005. What did that achievement mean to you?
I don't know what it means. I'm still trying to kind of come to terms with that because before last season that was totally unexpected. And I always dreamed of playing in the NBA, dreamed of being an all-star, but I never dreamed of being the MVP. So that's probably a big reason why I can't quite get my head around it and really know what it means to me yet, because it's incredible.
A lot of fans are coming up to me now more than ever and just saying, "Hey, big shot, Bob."
I like to say when it's time to turn it up that I turn it up. I got a toughness inside of me that just won't let me quit.
Dwayne Wade with a beautiful move.
If you're going to be in the NBA, if you're going to be out there on the basketball court, people can watch you. Why not try to put on a show?
Here comes Willis. The crowd is going wild. Fires. It's a three-pointer, and he's tied the game. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to what we like to call, for lack of a better term, the Marv Show. Just to give you the best possible viewing experience, we offer this description of the program. We interview NBA players, coaches, referees, and broadcasters, although we do draw the line at mascots, and explore a skill or storyline that relates to their career. Today, we talk with the league's reigning MVP, Steve Nash. Now, last season, Steve returned to Phoenix, the place where his career began, and he led the Suns on a remarkable turnaround from 29 wins the previous year to 62, the NBA's best record. That performance would earn him the league's highest individual honor.
Nash takes dunking off the dribble. Stoudemire. Oh, what a pass from Nash. Out of backcourt with his hair in the breeze. Keeps coming. Shot off with the left hand over Parker. Unbelievable play. Nash for three. Oh, Steve Nash has put in 44 points.
Back over to Nash along the baseline. Scoops it up. Phenomenal shot by Steve Nash. Right into the gut.
But I'm here to represent millions of basketball fans around the world and allow your appreciative fans here at America West Arena to say congratulations, 2004-2005.
Steve, take us back to the end of last season when you were named the NBA's most valuable player for 2005. What did that achievement mean to you?
I don't know what it means. I'm still trying to kind of come to terms with that because before last season that was totally unexpected. And I always dreamed of playing in the NBA, dreamed of being an all-star, but I never dreamed of being the MVP. So, I still haven't fully come to terms with it. So I can't answer that. I don't know.
Well, although this may seem surprising, the list of guards who have won the award is actually a short one, although you're in elite company. But what does it mean for you to join a group that includes only Bob Cousy, Oscar Robertson, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson?
That's probably a big reason why I can't quite get my head around it and really know what it means to me yet, because it's incredible to add your name to that list of guys, people you respect, people you admire, people you looked up to, and all the great guards that are excluded from that list. So it's incredible to be mentioned with those guys, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, when I'm aging and sitting around watching guys play. It'll be fun.
Nash intercepts. Running the break, Nash. Wild floater goes in. And a little Cousy-like runner.
As a student of the game and one of the great point guards of the game, you've ever look back at some of the other guys? I mean, I'm sure you've seen footage of Cousy and Magic and Oscar. Does that have any meaning to you when you take a look at what they did?
It has an unbelievable impact on me. You know, it always gets my head spinning when I start to think about those guys. I mean, I look at Bob Cousy, and I'm basically doing a lot of the same things he was doing half a century ago. And for me, that's a big impact on me, because that shows me, you know, how ahead of the game he was, how natural it was for him, and I respect the fact that, you know, so many years later, guys are doing a lot of the same things he was doing, he started doing. It might look a little different, the surroundings are definitely different, but, you know, those guys, all of them, Oscar, Jerry West, John Stockton, Magic, all those guys were, you know, people I have a tremendous amount of respect for and love to learn about.
And Steve's achievements would not go unnoticed by one legendary predecessor.
When I won the MVP, I got a letter from Bob Cousy, and that was, you know, probably the highlight of all the congratulatory stuff that came with it. And I wrote him a letter back this year, just letting him know how much I respect what he did, and how I basically see that I'm still doing things he was doing so many years later, and how much I really respect that.
That's awesome. High praise indeed for Steve, coming from Hall of Famer Bob Cousy. And if you recall another of our recent shows, we mentioned the admiration that Bob has for Nets point guard Jason Kidd. So in light of the fact that his name continues to pop up, we thought it only fitting that Bob get an entire segment of his own. With that in mind, we'll look back at the Celtics Hall of Fame playmaker when we return. When you look at Steve Nash and Bob Cousy, you can certainly find plenty of comparisons. Both 6'1" point guards who won the NBA's MVP award. Both flashy players running a fast break offense. And as we learned in our previous segment, both enjoy sitting down to write letters. But of course, Bob has the one thing that Steve wants most, an NBA championship ring. In fact, he won as the floor leader of the Celtics while revolutionizing the game of basketball.
Hi there. Bob Cousy has dazzled countless fans with his thrilling brand of basketball.
Down to Cousy. Cousy drives in, dribbles by a man, and lays it in.
I certainly was aware that my style of playing was attractive to fans in those days. I mean, what I was doing, every 12-year-old was doing in every schoolyard in the country.
Bob Cousy came to the Celtics in 1950 as a flashy rookie whose prospects were uncertain.
Cousy, you see, was a great college player, but on a pro level, you couldn't project how good he was going to be.
The Coos instantly revitalized the Celtics. He would lead the league in assists 8 consecutive seasons and transform the game by playing with style.
Another great performance by Bob sees a masterpiece of pull and overhead dexterity.
If George Mikan was the first great star of the NBA, then Bob Cousy was the second great star in the NBA. He was the great draw. He did things with the basketball that hadn't been done before.
I credit Bob Cousy, one of the guys that saved the NBA, because he came to the game and brought the passing skills that were only identified basically with the Harlem Globetrotters.
Despite the impact of Cousy, the Celtics still could not win a title. But that would change when they acquired Bill Russell in 1956.
When, Russ joined the fold, we walked away saying, wow.
Cousy and Russell proving an efficient combination.
A new era had begun with Cousy running the Celtic fast break and Russell controlling the middle. A dynasty was born, and the game of basketball had entered the modern age.
With Russell controlling the backboard, we were in high gear with the up-tempo game, and we were blowing those suckers out of there.
With Cousy as their floor leader, the Celtics had an unparalleled run of success, winning 6 championships in 7 years. And he helped instill the famous Celtic pride with a sense of teamwork that defined his approach to the game.
I'm sure the championships we started winning in '57 were far more meaningful than any kind of individual attention. I mean, what it's all about when you work your butts off for 6 or 7 or 8 months to grab the ring is winning the championship.
It was a brilliant career for Bob Cousy, but not everyone was impressed. At first, his coach at Holy Cross limited Cousy's playing time, saying he was doing too much showboating. But with Bob's talent, the coach eventually had no choice but to play him, and he would become a 3-time All-American before heading off to the NBA. Steve Nash also spent time on the bench as a young player, but for very different reasons. And we'll talk about it when we come back. Steve Nash took a rather unlikely route to the NBA. He played his college ball at tiny Santa Clara, the only Division I school that would offer him a scholarship. And he was raised in Canada, where hockey is the top sport. In fact, as a youngster, Steve was a soccer star, but he decided to concentrate on basketball, honing his skills on his local playground in British Columbia. As you're about to see, Steve has often returned to those courts, but please don't adjust your sets. This footage was shot when he had a very different look.
I spent a lot of my time out here playing and just working on my game on my own, and I'd be out here at night when it was dark or in the rain sometimes, and sometimes I'd be out here with my brother quite a lot, and we'd play full court one-on-one on this court, and we'd only play for about 10 or 15 minutes because it would end in a fight.
Steve, as you think back to your days growing up in Victoria, British Columbia, was it tough to find a game? It's not like going down to the schoolyard in New York City, playing 2-on-2. I don't know if that would be the situation in Victoria.
Well, you'd be surprised. You know, the game is bigger than you'd expect, and I think when I started playing, it was growing to an all-time kind of height. I was lucky. I had my best friends. We played together every day, all day, so I always had a game, and most days we could find a pickup game, so you know, we made sure that we were always playing, and in some ways, you know, it was just like any other basketball player growing up around the world.
After his outstanding college career at Santa Clara, Steve Nash was drafted number 15 by Phoenix in 1996, a selection criticized by some Suns fans. But Steve wouldn't have the chance to answer those critics anytime soon, as he joined a team that was well-stocked at his position. In your early days as a member of the Phoenix Suns, there were some pretty good point guards on those teams, including Jason Kidd and Kevin Johnson. At that time, were you ever saying to yourself, how will I crack this lineup?
You know, I wasn't in a rush. I didn't grow up being heavily recruited. You know, I was a late bloomer in some respects. And, you know, I also had that attitude going into the NBA that I'm going to take time to learn and get better and improve. And don't judge yourself in the first few years. I didn't play a lot my first year. My second year, I ended up playing 20-plus minutes a game with those two guys in the backcourt. You know, I look back on that and think that was one of my proudest achievements.
Oh, look at Nash, showing Tim Hardaway a little bit about ball handling and the fact that he has a shot. So Nash looked...
Was there anything that they told you, or perhaps some advice, that might have helped you in the long run?
The one thing I learned from both of them, just from watching them, was how confident they were and competitive they were. And I realized that obviously if you want to be at their level, you have to be pretty confident in what you're doing.
Nash alertly got it ahead to Kevin Johnson. What a heads-up play by Steve Nash.
And Kevin told me that from practicing with me that he thought I was as good as any guard he played against. And you know, I think what he was trying to say is you need to believe more in yourself. You have all the skills and tools, and you know that meant a lot to me coming from him, someone that I obviously had a lot of admiration for what he'd accomplished.
It became apparent that Steve had a bright future in the NBA, but just when it seemed he had found a home in Phoenix, he would be traded to the struggling Mavericks in 1998, and the timing couldn't have been better. What was that like to be such a major part of what would become one of the more exciting and talented teams in the league, and play alongside another dynamic player in Dirk Nowitzki?
Well, that was the most impressionable years, I guess, of my career, and had the most impact. You know, for us to go there the same day, Dirk and myself, and to be the worst team in the league, more or less, and to be a part of the next 6 years building up and being in the conference finals and winning 50-plus games every year. That was exciting, you know, to get on at the ground floor and take it nearly to the top.
Nowitzki steps inside the arc, shedding Wallace, gets it back from Nash. The Mavericks putting on a clinic in this third quarter to lead.
Dirk and Mike Finley are two of my best friends, and for us to grow together and play in that environment and watch the city really get behind us was a lot of fun, and you know, definitely going to look back at some of the best years of my career.
But despite having one of the league's most talented trios, the Mavs suffered a string of playoff disappointments. How frustrating, though, was it for you that those Maverick teams were never able to get over the hump and even make it to the NBA Finals?
Well, obviously, you know, that's the goal, and it's frustrating. But, you know, I think what's more frustrating is that we did get to the conference finals. We lost 4-2 to San Antonio, the world champions that year. And, you know, we had a shot. And then after that season, we changed the whole team. And that was the most frustrating thing, that group didn't get a chance to try to grow together and maybe add a piece or two here from a team that's already really close. And that next season, we had a whole new team, and it proved to be my last.
When Steve Nash returned to Phoenix in 2004, it was a perfect fit. Head coach Mike D'Antoni had installed a fast-paced offense, and Nash was just the point guard he needed to run the attack. The Suns became the league's highest-scoring team, and after missing the playoffs the previous year, they went all the way to the Western Conference Finals. Steve led the league in assists with 12 per game, and many of them went to two high-flying teammates.
And there's a beautiful pass by Steve Nash. Can you believe that pass?
And here comes Nash inside, and Marion set up. What a combination these two are.
What is playing with such talented players like Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion done for your career? I have to think that it's a point guard's dream to play with guys like that.
Definitely, especially the way I play, the way I like to create opportunities for my teammates. You know, I have two of the best finishers and athletes in the game. You know, Sean is one of a kind, the way he, you know, you don't really call any plays for him, he just kind of reads off me.
Forget it! Oh, baby!
And then Amari's, you know, one of a kind as well. I mean, with the power and explosiveness he has, he's got to be one of the greatest finishers we've ever seen in a short period of time. You know, for me it is. It's a dream come true, and I just try to enjoy it every night.
Steve Nash, the MVP of the NBA.
This year, one of Steve's wingmen, Amari Stoudemire, has missed most of the season with a knee injury. And the Suns roster includes many new faces. But the play and leadership of Nash has kept Phoenix among the NBA's elite teams. I know you deal with everything in very low-key fashion, which is your style, but once again, you are a major candidate for MVP honors, which is an amazing accomplishment. As you think back, are you amazed that your career has gone the way it has?
Yeah, on one hand, it's just a natural progression. Every year you get a little better, and there's a new chapter, and you're just living life. So on one hand, you know, you don't think about it because you're continuing to be in the moment and grow, hopefully, as a player and with your teammates. But on the other hand, whenever, you know, you're constantly reminded every day of being the MVP and being possibly a two-time MVP, it's impossible not to sometimes catch yourself thinking, where did this all come from? You know, I never even asked for all this. I never dreamt of all this. So to be here, in many ways, is shocking at times, just because it wasn't part of the plan. You know, you just feel really lucky that, you know, you stayed healthy, you worked hard, you love to play, you still enjoy it, and good things happen to you.
When you first entered the league, you were thinking, hey, if I could play 10 years, have a solid career, hey, I'll take it.
Definitely. There was a part of me that was like, I want to be a starter, I want to be an all-star, but there was another part of me that was like, hey, look, first and foremost, I'd like to make a career of this. Because you never know. You never know exactly how good you'll be. You think you'll be great. You think you can be better than what people expect, and you love that challenge, but you never know. So as a small little guy, he wasn't the best athlete in the room, from a small West Coast town in Canada, you know, first and foremost, you wanted to stick around. So, I look back and I realize that I did have big goals, but I've exceeded even those.
Steve, of course, all the awards are wonderful, MVP and more to follow, but would you trade all that for that elusive NBA championship?
No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I think there's nothing better and more fulfilling than to win a championship. I haven't won it, but I can just envision what that's like. You feel fulfilled. You feel like for the rest of your life you'll have the greatest memory with that group of guys at that time, and it'll represent your whole career. For me, I've won the MVP, but I don't feel fulfilled at all. And I have a hunch you never quite feel fulfilled, but a championship would give you about as close to that feeling as you could possibly get. So, that is totally first and foremost as far as what I'm striving for in this league.
I could visualize the parade down Main Street in Victoria.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if we have a Main Street.
I was going to ask, that's my next question. Is there a Main Street?
I'm not sure there is a Main Street. I'm not even sure Phoenix's Main Street is quite a spot for a parade, but we'll have one somewhere.
Well, after extensive research, we were unable to locate Main Street in Phoenix, though there is an East Main Street in nearby Scottsdale. Perhaps the parade would pass by the Suns Arena on East Jefferson Street. Actually, it doesn't matter to Steve where it's held, just as long as the Suns win the championship. On our next show, we'll talk with a man who has helped bring several victory parades to the Motor City, to be precise, on Woodward Avenue in downtown Detroit. He's the Pistons' former star guard and now their team president, Joe Dumars.
It's happened, Detroit! A third NBA World Championship!
Joe, how would you describe your particular blueprint for building a championship team?
I think first and foremost, if you give me a clean sheet of paper, I try to cover all bases. I want to have a deep team. I want to have a team that can play defense. I want to have a team that's not relying on one particular or two particular guys to carry us every night. I've tried to look at the slate and say, okay, where would the holes be? And let's make sure that we're covered here.
So be sure to tune in next time for much more of our talk with the architect of the Pistons, and perhaps even more fascinating geographical information. We'll see you then.